Hello, everyone. It's Lindsay Landry, and welcome to the Make a Splash Summer Bash. Today, I have a special guest, one of my dear soul sisters and friends here, and I'm so looking forward to introducing her to all of you and having this deep, juicy conversation with her today. And so, before we dive in, I'll share a little bit about her with you, and then I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself, and then we'll take it from there. So today, one of my dear friends who I've been in deep energy work and practicing with for the past 2 years, Anna Dale. I have her with me. And Anna is a catalyst for deep authenticity and vulnerability. She is a wild nurturer and a passionate advocate for healing the enlivened heart, body, and soul. Her journey started about 20 years ago when she was struggling with back injuries, and it sent her on this quest for healing. She is a trained bodyworker and a longtime ecstatic dance DJ warrior. And she loves the process of awakening hidden veins of potential that lay dormant inside of our amazingly complex physical and energetic anatomy, life. And yeah, she really is amazing. And she's super multi-dimensional, and I'm super excited for her to talk with all of you today. So yeah, Anna.
Hey, Lindsay.
Thank you for being willing to come and have this conversation with us and to share your gifts and your magic with my community.
Yeah, I'm really super delighted to be here. And yeah, my heart is smiling big at the moment.
Mine too. You know, like I told you before we hit record, when I was reading just what you sent me today about this conversation, and I literally was in tears. I was in happy tears, and I just felt myself coming home. And it feels like, you know, I know you have been reminding me that especially this past year, of all the ways to unlock my own shutdowns and come more into my own heart. I feel like you've been a huge catalyst to help me on that journey. And so I'm really looking forward to sharing in this conversation with you around that, unlocking our shutdowns.
Yeah, or as I as I often describe it to myself, it's like, oh, here I go, I'm pill bugging it again.
Totally.
So yeah.
So before we dive in, is there anything else you want to share with our listeners just about how you've gotten to where you are?
Oh my. Well, well, I just want to say first that like that just so the bio you just read, right? I birthed it yesterday. It just came through and that is I've been steeped in this healing work. Been a massage therapist for over 8 years, and then I started my journey with both conscious movement. Some forms I've participated in have been 5 rhythms and open floor, and then I've been dancing in the Portland ecstatic dance community for goodness, probably 15 years at least, and DJing for about 10. And facilitating. So it's just a never-ending playground and discovery zone, because I mean, as long as we are here and in a body, our body is really our divining rod. So between spirit and earth, and then here we are. The body is, our body touches through our memories and the ways we store whether it's trauma or just um,
Stress.
just trauma or memory. Yeah, the way we store things in our body, but our body is always in the present moment, even though
Mm-hmm.
it has ways of touching past and future timelines through our minds and through our connective tissue,
Mm-hmm.
and even our bones. I would say when we think about and our blood, our bloodline, and our lineages, like there's just it's so rich. There's just
Mm-hmm.
it's amazing to be human.
Yes, totally. Yeah. And so let's dive in. Let's dive in because I feel like there's going to be so much around this conversation around unlocking our shutdowns. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe can you just start by talking a little bit about like what are shutdowns and what does that look like? How does that show up for us, whether it's emotionally, spiritually, in our body?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I will. Let's see. um, yeah.
There's so much,
Well, I'll
right?
just start. So I know, and there's so many entry points to this conversation. But I'll start. I'll do it this way. And I'll invite just the audience, whoever is hearing this, to include themselves in this, and um, just maybe locating a time in your own history, maybe when you were a young child or school age, or really honestly could be just yesterday, but a moment when there was some energy rising in you, like a life force energy rising to be expressed. And for whatever reasons, the way the perhaps the people or your caretakers or your teachers or your friends or whomever, there was some way that it couldn't come all the way through to be expressed, or it was expressed and then it was met with maybe anger
Mm,
or just some, and even more subtle than anger. Sometimes we're like, oh, joyful, and then there's just like maybe the person is, say, on their phone,
mm-hmm.
or their parent is just distracted, or they're stressed about something, and the child is in their exuberance and they're like la 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 la, and they just want to be met by way of being seen. So all of these little instances, if we're not met in some way that's like satisfying to our system, we will adjust, like, oh, I guess there's something, in child mind, we're prone to thinking something, oh, I did something wrong, there's something wrong with me, okay, I gotta like sort of
Mm-hmm.
stitch something around that expression so that it can't come out in that same way. So
Yeah. And so this can show up too. Like I know a lot of the women in my community, they are running businesses, right? Or trying to put themselves out in the world, which I feel like is one of the biggest portals for healing our shutdowns and healing these places where we are disconnected, because it shows you all of the um it shows you where you're afraid or where you're not fully in that vital life flow like you were talking about.
yeah, and it can come up in the form of feeling terrified to, like, for me, that bio that was one of I, that's an adult example of probably something whose origins began when I was very young, right? It's just like, oh, it's
Totally.
my voice, it's an expression, like, if I put it out there, somebody's gonna be mean to me.
Or even like
Or
just the like limiting ourselves to a bio, right? Because it's like, as a
yeah,
heart-centered, soul-centered, multi-dimensional being, it's like, but I mean, I'm actually a lot more than that. And I don't really know if this label actually says anything. And I don't really want to put myself in this box. Like there's so many things, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we can yeah, that can trace that back to public school, even just the idea of assignments. And I mean, I feel like that's one, most of us, I know not all of us, but many of us spent 6 to 8 hours a day as young people in a public school system where there were rules to follow, and we were expected to do assignments, and we had to raise our hands to go to the bathroom, and we were told to be quiet and sit in rows and desks. There's just all this confinement around what wants to be free,
Mm-hmm.
and nurtured. And because it's not that we don't need guidance from our elders and and the adults in a community around a child, but
Yeah.
I'm of the belief that there are more, I'm struggling to find a word, but just better better ways of nurturing the human, both the human body, the human psyche, so all these multidimensional aspects of us that probably didn't fully get what they needed, going through all these rites of passage of development.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all those locked gates or rites of passage, they're still in us. So we can unlock those codes for ourselves, through, there's the work, you're doing, that energy healing, just simply becoming aware. And then personally, I am just obsessed, you could
Yeah.
say, I guess, but just very emphatic that we need to experience these rites of passage through the body,
Mm-hmm.
not
So
just our minds.
I want to talk more about that. And before we do that, I just want
Yeah.
to name this piece of like,
Mm-hmm.
because I've personally been working this for myself the past year. There's this way. So it's like when, as a child, we are put in these systems and we are then taught, right, to look outside of ourselves, like to look to an authority to see, like, is this safe? Can I do this thing? What do I need to do? And then what I noticed for myself as I started creating my business is then I'm also looking for, how do I need to do it? What's the right way? And so
Mm-hmm.
what'll happen, right? What I found happening for myself is in doing that, trying to put myself in these structures, right? These marketing plans, these systems that um, they're not really my true nature, right? And so what I
Mm-hmm.
actually found happening is I was making myself wrong. Like you mentioned, we go into these shutdown places, we start like creating resistance. But I also was losing that life flow, right? That passion, that um, joy, that like turn on for the process and for my work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to name that for the people listening as a sense of like, if you're feeling any of those things, right? If you're putting yourself, like you're exhausted with marketing or you're feeling burnout in your business, there may be some places that are locked up, right? Or that
Mm-hmm.
need some freeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit more about this process, right? This process of when you start to realize, right? Because the first step is always going to be that identification of like realizing, like, wait, maybe there's a lockup or maybe there's a place where I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So so the signs where you're, maybe it's frustration or just dissatisfaction, or you're like, I just like, I can't break through in this one area, or this model that's being, well, you were describing it in terms of looking outside ourselves to know how to do a thing. So let me let's see. So what's coming through in this moment, what I would invite as just an exploration for people with this is like, whether you write it out or you just speak it out loud or even just think it, just all the emotions of that, just really bring it through yourself, like bring it into your body so you're feeling it in your body, in your heart, in your muscles, and even your organs, and then actually move toward it and physically set it in motion. And like, you could play a song, and if you're feeling really mad, I mean, you could play a death metal song if you wanted, or whatever. It's just something that matches the energetic of your experience, and then move your body and just move. And you don't necessarily even need music. You really can just do this. Like, if you have enough, you don't even need a large space, just, a 4x4 square, say, and you can just start moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then notice, like, there's a moment when the body's wisdom, this may take a while, because our minds are tricky, but if you keep bringing these things home to the body, there's a place where the body's wisdom takes the process over. And all of a sudden, where you've been stuck and locked down and fearful, the locked up emotion is becoming free. And then your perception is open, and you begin to see more possibility. Or you might even hear different voices coming through yourself, like, well, that's stupid, I didn't even want to do that, like, if you're speaking back to some quote out there authority that's harassing you. Like, you might find your inner child just, well, screw you, like, expressing whatever whatever they need to say about that. Mm-hmm. Whether it's from a past timeline or this timeline. Anyway.
Yeah. And something that's coming forward too is, would you maybe speak a little bit, because it's like this example we gave was like starting with noticing the emotion that's off, right? Or noticing there's like this feeling or frustration. Can you maybe talk a little bit about when the body is actually giving us messages, right? Because sometimes we don't even feel the emotion or the message that's inside, but instead it's like it shows up as a physical thing.
Mm-hmm. Like, you mean a sensation or
even pain, right? Like, so you mentioned your back pain as one of the portals as you getting to where you are now. So do you want to say anything about pain as a portal?
Sure. And I want to recognize too that there really are, there are physical traumas that happen, and injury is a real thing. Mm-hmm. So that to know that, like, and even emotionally, like, a lot of these things that lock us up really need multi-directional attention. You might, for some things, when it gets so locked up, you may need a therapist for a while, and if there's injury, you may, Western medicine is great for certain kinds of injuries, and then when it's more of a chronic pain issue, you're probably going to also maybe need something like acupuncture, massage, all these gifted modalities. Let's see, what a chiropractor, PT, all, I want to what opened the field, just that there's for each person to follow their own prescription. But for this piece that I've kind of, I guess, focused on and specialized around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, pain is a portal. I'm just circling back to your original question. Yeah. Okay. So even just last night, I went to a dance, ecstatic dance here in Portland last night, and I've been having a sort of shutdown or pain, stiffness, all kind of through the right side of my body lately. And so in my dance, I began very slow, like, and I was on the floor, and it was this feeling of like earth energy, like me actually allowing myself to meet the earth energy and then move it through, so it's kind of pain, but but how do you, well, for me personally, it was specifically kind of how can I bring up this earth energy in a pleasurable way, despite all these areas where I'm feeling like, man, I don't know how to open this. I don't know how to unlock this all the way, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing in support. I'm bringing in nourishment and pleasure. And, and as the dance goes on, I get to try on sort of different shapes because the music is moving through different energetic states, and I get to feel how that feels in my body. And I'm still working, like it's still not all the way open, but I'm staying with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening. I'm, and there might be a habit in me of, God, I feel this way. So I go into frustration. I'm like, man, screw this. And I'm like, F this, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, well, okay, what other options do I have? So I guess pain is, it's sensation. So if we can meet the pain as a sensation and welcome it, and I know this isn't always very easy at all, and there may, again, that's kind of why I bring in all of these other modalities, because if you're really in a lockdown and in pain, you're probably going to need a team of support.
Mm-hmm.
Just want to really, I don't know, most of us grew up with, our ecosystems were not, they weren't as diversified as we probably really needed. So
Yeah.
yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah. And
Or do you have any fault?
what I'm really hearing and seeing as you're describing this too is like, okay, so the first realm, when I had brought forward my noticing of putting myself in these systems and then feeling super frustrated, right? It came with the feeling. So I was feeling, depressed. I was feeling frustrated. And then when you described, the process you were bringing us through, it's almost like bringing those feelings out. So like taking the
Mm-hmm.
energy of feeling and then bring it in all the way through your body. And then it's like, so what I heard you say when you were talking about the pain, so say it starts with the physical pain of a back or a knee or whatever the thing is. It could even be like a physical health issue. It doesn't even have to be like pain, but then it's like what I heard you really say is like bringing it deeper. So like taking that outer layer and like almost weaving it into the like, okay, so how can we feel more, right? So how can we actually go into the feeling and then come into the sensation and like come deeper into our being with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and almost make love to it.
Yeah. It's like that's what I see as you're describing these two different pieces. It's like a little bit two different energies, but it's actually all the same. And it's like really a coming together.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah, because it's sort of like that pain can absorb all of our attention, and it can create a flow and or even a drain, you know. And so there's this almost like energetically just putting a sphere around the pain and then looping it around your entire physical being and energetic being, and just like calling yourself into the center to expand and include.
Yeah.
And just really welcome the truth of the moment instead of closing off to it.
Yeah. So do you want to maybe talk a little bit about that and some of the tools? Because I know it's like you use these powerful tools of sound and movement and dance as a way of really being in the moment and being in the present.
Mm-hmm. Well, a simple basic practice in a lot of these conscious dance circles is like a body parts meditation. And so even, I mean, you can even do this if there isn't anything specifically nagging at you, you know, or if you're in a state of maybe listlessness too and not knowing quite where to focus. But even, okay, well, two ideas are coming to me simultaneously. So I'll just begin with the basic body parts. Like, you know, if I had a group of dancers in front of me, and I would just be like, okay, you know, so notice your feet.
Mm-hmm.
It's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
like how do your feet want to move? Like, what about, like, just notice the articulation of each toe joint and all the, you know, the metatarsals and the, you know, the bones, the heel bone, the ankle. And then just let that express for, you know, a few moments or a couple minutes. And then moving it. Oh, and then what about the knees? What does the dance of the knees look like today? And you kind of see, like, you know, I'm starting to move now because I can't not.
I know. I'm wiggling my toes and my legs here too. So.
Yeah. And then, so the knees are like, oh yeah, knees. Interesting. Yeah. And then bringing it up. Oh, what do the hips have to say? Eek, hips. Oh my God. So many stories in the hips.
Mm-hmm.
So just what are they, you know, are they feeling shy? Are they feeling timid? Are they feeling like sexy, sultry, wild? You know, just notice what's alive, what's not alive. And you just move it through. What about the belly? How does the belly meet the world in this moment? Or does it want to contract and protect itself? Is it feeling curious and drawn out and wants to bump up against some other bellies in the space? And then shoulders, and you maybe even just exaggerate the tension that you're carrying in your shoulders for just a moment, and then take a breath, and like, how much of that can you let go, and letting the arms and wrists shake, the dance of the elbows. What does that look like in this moment? On through to the head, and then the spine. Just that serpentine energy of the spine. How does that wish to move?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. And typically there's just a lot of joy in coming home to the body.
Totally. I feel
Like in
so
this,
grounded. And that was what, like 5 minutes? Not even.
not even, probably, I don't know. I felt like I was rushing a bit just, but
Maybe
yeah,
3.
it's possibly 3 minutes. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. So it's like, imagine starting every single day, even with a 3-minute body meditation like that.
Yeah. 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 And then the other piece you're mentioning, so in relation to pain, right? I could see taking, so whatever the pain, whether it's an emotional pain or a nagging thought, or actual physical pain, right? You could locate that pain, call it, again, call it forward. It's like, okay, maybe I'm a little afraid of you. I don't really know how to relate to you right now, but I'm calling you just a little bit closer. And then taking again the body parts meditation, and just how this pain in relation to my toes, okay,
Mm.
like, and including it, do you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
like the keeping that the sensation of pain or the emotion of pain present as you move through these body parts, and then just notice. There's no like agenda that anything has to happen, but some things will probably happen because that's the nature of being alive.
Mm-hmm.
And our also, just one of the things I love, I mean, I know, people, it's like a sitting meditation I know there's value in it, but we're, life is dynamic, and there's things, even if as still as we might be, there's always motion, and we're designed to move and be engaged in our lives, and I just love movement as a practice. And often as you move, so like an ecstatic dance that I host I typically put a set together that's about 75 minutes. And after, excuse me, after dancing through this, rich landscape of energies where slow, and then you build, and then there's, big crescendo or cathartic release often. And then you come down and back. There's a true stillness, like the mind is actually still inside the body. And as often as we can imprint ourselves with this state, it has an impact on all the spheres of our life, and just our ability to be present through the full range of our humanity, and
Mm-hmm.
the types of relationships we're in, and we bring more of ourselves to the table, and the world really, really needs that.
Totally. Well, grounding is sort of like being the oak tree, right? So it's like, no matter if the wind is blowing or if it's raining, or no matter what's happening outside of yourself, if you're grounded, then you can go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So important. Especially,
And then, go ahead.
for those ladies who are listening, and it's like they're trying to grow their business and do these things. It's like grounding is the fastest way to grow your business. Efficiently, really,
Yeah.
because it's like the fastest way to bring in money. It's the fastest way to get ideas. It's the fastest way to magnetize, like to um, be able to hold that space. And one of the tags I
Mm-hmm.
had for this Make a Splash series is more results with more ease. Well, if you want to make a bigger impact with more ease, you need to be grounded to do that. think of an oak tree.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to run into an oak tree on purpose. You're not going to try to override it, or you might get your head hurt or something.
Can you just say a little more, like you're not going to be
Well,
you won't be overridden by an oak
yeah.
tree?
So,
are you encouraging like the becoming an oak tree?
right. Like, so,
Or,
in business, often people, it's like we want to claim our space. Like we want to be seen, or we want people to notice us, or, we want to attract clients. Right. And
yeah,
I know,
yeah,
like, even I don't really entertain this much, but some people in the online space, some entrepreneurs, they may compare themselves to others, or almost feel like competitive in some sense of like, well, that person's doing this and they're better. So like they're going to probably get clients and I might not, or whatever the story is, right? There can be so many different stories. But it's like if we think of the grounded oak tree, it's not competing and it's holding its ground pretty darn well.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like nobody's trying to
Taking,
overtake it. It's not trying to overtake anything else. It's just in its space.
right, just being itself.
And most of the time, it's like we want to go sit under those big cozy trees. Right? We're like, oh, I want to go hang out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So one more thing is coming forward that I'd love to just talk a little bit about if you're feeling up for it.
Yeah, yeah.
This, it feels like taking it a little bit deeper into, okay, so people are doing this outside work and maybe they're still noticing their gates are rusty, right? And they're still in this lockup, or even sometimes we do work, right? Where we are like working our layers and then we're still in, like, we're hitting these crunchy places or these rusty places where it feels like they're not um, opening. Is there anything that you want to say about that? And also, it's like I keep hearing like the deeper, like ancestral healing, or maybe it is past life, but I don't know. Just see what your feeling wants to come through you around that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just noticing my attention goes immediately sort of to my womb space. Yeah, right. Because some of these movements are so tender, and slow. So it's not even about an expression so much as a melting and allowing, And I'm wondering, I mean, the best way I feel like to answer this is maybe, is it okay to just maybe guide a little process right now?
Totally.
Does that
Yes.
feel okay? Just this is what's coming forward. So this was not planned.
The best way to go. Let it
Yeah, I know, right? Totally. Okay. So just allowing kind of like the dust or any ways that the mental body is maybe trying to grasp for the details of this conversation, or like, wait, I didn't get just taking a big breath up through the center of the mind, and then exhaling and descending your awareness just as deeply as you can go. And the invitation is to come all the way into the womb. But if you get stuck at the throat or heart or solar plexus, that's okay. Just And then notice where your rusted gate lies. And we may have more than one, but just maybe there's one that's got your attention a little bit more in this moment. And then just notice what might prevent you from coming up next to that rusted gate. Like maybe it's like, oh, it's too painful to look at, or maybe it's a little slippery and moves around somehow. But just all of that, just kind of, again, looping that in to your field of awareness. And almost as you would like an infant or a child who's distressed, just find a little hum. Just finding a very subtle, gentle tone that offers some soothing to your nervous system. Notice if you're a little bit closer to that rusted gate. Yeah, and so for this moment, and just because I'm not sure how much time we have on this call, but just let yourself rest there. Don't even, I mean, some things may be coming forward to you for what you need or something to do, but even just coming kind of into companionship with this place where there's a lockdown or where you've been too afraid to open the door, and really just being there. Not forcing anything, but offering soothing, maybe welcoming in some of that earth energy just to nourish the ground around this place. Yeah. And then, Lindsay, I'm wondering if there's anything you want to add here.
I'm just feeling so much compassion and so much grace. Yeah, so, if you're still feeling a little bit crunchy, maybe just see like if you can almost let your own heart send you compassion and grace. It's like even the compassion and grace that you didn't even know was available for you, It's like we don't even have to know with our logical mind, but just letting the energy do its thing. Mm-hmm. Yes. So good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, definitely feeling, I'm just feeling some of that grace really come down into my lower back. Just like
Mhm.
oh, I can rest. Just feel myself resting back into my tailbone
Mhm.
in a really, just very like relieving, relieving
Totally.
way.
It's like we forget, right? We forget how easy it is to be able to have this place to rest. Like
Mhm.
we can actually create it for
Yeah,
ourselves.
yeah. And yeah, yes, yes, yes. There's such a, as it's also, it's also like in this culture, it's easy to flip into that, fight or flight, even like a low grade fight or flight. And I learned recently that, like, so even the bones, our bones, like the tailbone will curl itself under, and our shoulder blades will squish up together, and our, even the bones of our cranium, our skull will, like, it all just, the the bones curl around themselves to protect the vital organs. So when we're
Interesting.
not in, when we're home, or yeah, I just, like, as much as we can imprint ourselves with this feeling of unhinging from,
Mhm.
or loosening our bones. I mean, this world, my gosh, we just need that, like, so much of, I feel so much of just what causes strife and people to be spinning their wheels. It's just these loops of unresolved trauma in large and subtle ways. So the more we can empower ourselves and um, make the choices we need to make to self soothe, or to support our family and friends and community to find their pathways of soothing, or to reach out for help when we need it, to find it for ourselves, like, oh my gosh, like, that's the kind of world I get excited about.
Mhm.
It's
Yes.
mm, really,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for
mhm.
that. It was beautiful, beautiful experience.
Yeah.
So, are there any last things that you'd like to share with our listeners today before we close?
Mm. Oh, I think just thank you for tuning in, for, yeah, for, yeah, for using some of your valuable time in this way.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
it's
for
like
your willing heart. Yeah, that's just the willingness in the heart to soften again.
what I'm hearing too is like like each person doing their work. So for each person just even tuning in and listening and doing their work, listening to this call, it's like they're impacting that many more people. It's like that's
Mm-hmm.
the way to make the ripples is by doing your work, dropping in.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So good.
Whew.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And if people are interested in connecting with you, can you share with them
Mm-hmm.
how they can do that?
Well, I'm still working on my own rusty gates around creating a website, so there's not really that way to get in touch with me yet. But I do have a Facebook page.
And I'll include the link so you don't have to have the exact link.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. Because I can't even recall the title, and I'm really in a process of updating all of my online presences that I hold. But very simply, my email address is my name, Anna Dale, LMT @gmail.com, and yeah, I'm super happy to connect with any of you if you feel the call.
And Anna does, these ecstatic dance events in Portland, correct?
Yes, yeah.
And then she has her in-person practice, but she also is available online as well. She may not say that, but I am boldly saying it for her. She is an amazing healer. And, if this conversation is speaking to you, definitely reach out to her. She has personally held me in sessions. And like I said, this past year, she's been a huge space holder for me and, has given me grace and reminded me of kindness and connecting back to the truth. And so, if you're feeling called by this conversation, reach out to her and just see what medicine she may have for you.
That makes me excited.
Yes. I remember, I'll just say this last thing before we close. I remember, some of our first retreats and you're like, you need to move. And I'm like, I don't really know if I can move my body. After a year, I'm squirming in my chair as we talk.
Yeah.
So
gotta
good.
let the joy dance.
Totally. Oh my goodness. I love you so much. And we'll definitely have you for more conversations because this is potent. I can feel the potency of this conversation. So
yeah. I would be delighted.
Yes, so good. And if anyone listening, if you have questions or if, you have experiences that are moving through you as you're listening to this, please come to my Facebook community, Soul Inspired Success, and share with us what's moving through. Let's continue this conversation and continue to let the energy flow from it. So, yes. Until next time.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
All right.
Such a pleasure to be here.